Alhamdulillah wahda, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da, amma ba'd. So we left here last week, so let's start from here. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. So you still have not practiced even the. The is the tip of the tongue touching the incisors. So a'udhu, zu, as about to zu, that is Z sound. That's wrong. You can't do that in Arabic. In Quran, you can't do this. A major mistake. This is major mistake. Big sin. You can't say a'udhu billahi min shaitan. You have to practice that. This is part of your learning. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ومثل الذين كفروا كمثل الذي ينعق بما لا يسمع إلا دعاء ونداء. كمثل الذي ينعق كمثل الذي ينعق بما لا يسمع إلا دعاء ونداء. ومثل الذين ومثل, and the example of الذين, of those people, كفروا, who rejected, who disbelieved, كمثل الذي, like the example of الذي, that person, ينعق, نعق ينعق means to call upon someone, call the animals, the traditional way of calling the animal. You know, when your camels are just, you're herding or you're shepherding, and you got those animals here and there, and you call out to them in a certain way. They come and listen to you, but they don't understand. They can hear you. So bima, so yani'iqu, bima, of what? La yasma. So you're calling upon someone who does not hear you, except for a call when you shout at them, wanida, when you call upon them. Means they would not understand what you're saying, like animals. They can only hear. They can only have a bit of idea. So when you call upon them, you know, sometimes people will say, so the animal would realize. You make some other noises, specific noise of that owner, the animal would recognize and they would hear it. But they don't understand other than the call, the style, the shout. That's it. You ask them, what is he asking? Don't know. We heard him. He's calling us. Let's just be there. That's it. They don't understand the meaning. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the example of those who disbelieve is like you are calling upon them and they're not listening to it. They can't understand. صم بكم عمي فهم لا يعقلون. Sum is the plural of asam. Asam is someone. Sum. Summun, deaf, dumb, and blind. They're deaf, dumb, and blind means metaphorically, not in physical sense. They can hear, yet they can't hear. They can't understand. They can see, but they don't appreciate. They don't understand the meaning behind it. They can't speak out their mind. So they do not even understand. You calling out to them is not beneficial. Many people, you tell them the right thing, they do not listen. You think that they're hearing you, but they're not actually, because they're not internalizing it. It's like you're throwing things or you're saying things to the stone, to the rocks. Animals are like that. They have the idea, they can hear it, but they can't appreciate what is the idea behind your call. The preaching to arrogant rejectors of the teaching of Islam is like calling for such animals who can only hear the voice but understand nothing. So obviously this is for prophets. When they are given clear instruction by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no point going after them anymore. That's a different matter. For us, we would never know who you can say that, you know what, oh, I've told you enough time, I'm not going to tell you. I can't decide that. You can't decide about any other human being. We can't decide about anyone. Why? Because we do not know who has truly rejected it. Yeah, there are certain people who do not want to listen to you and they say things. You may just run away from them or just shy away from them. That's a different thing. But you can't decide, oh, they are someone. No, because that is being judgmental about them. Because of their arrogance and ignorance, the disbelievers are so intent on following the forefathers that they care not to understand nor accept the truth, thus behaving like animals. This is what the idea is. Because before this, where we stopped last week was, would they follow their forefathers even if they did not understand anything? They say we would just follow what we think is appropriate. And then we covered the topic of following your forefathers if they understood it, if they are upon the truth, if they are righteous, then you follow them like the prophets. The children of prophets should follow their fathers. Children of ulama should follow their parents, definitely. Likewise, if the practicing people are there. Obviously, if the case is otherwise, you do not follow them because it's a cultural norm. It is how we do it. No, it has to be knowledge-based, guidance-based, piety-based. Someone of that caliber, alhamdulillah. Otherwise, you don't follow them. So they hear the call but pretend to be deaf, dumb, or blind. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum. So, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, easy, O you who believe, kulu, eat. Kul, eat. Kulu, you all eat. Min tayyibat, from the pure food. Ma, what? Razaqna, we provided, kum, you. You're supposed to translate God by the way. समझ में आ रहा है कि मैंने खाली इसलिए छोड़ा है कि आप जवाब देंगे, ये सारे ऐसे देख रहे हैं, वही वाली कहानी हो गई पिछली आयत वाली. Answer the ayat, each word. I mean, that's why I left it empty. O you who have believed, eat from the good thing which we have provided for you. وَاشْكُرُوا لِلَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ. What? And ushkuru, be grateful, show gratitude. Lillah, to Allah. In kuntum, if you are, very good. Iyahu. You heard this word, iyahu, iyaka, iyaka, iyaka. Yeah? So iyahu, iyaka, to you, yeah, to iyahu, to him. If you are to him, truly only to him, you are ta'budun. You worship. If you follow him, if you are slave of him, if you worship him, if you really truly worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then show your gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Easy. إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله. إنما, indeed, ma is, it makes it what we call a hasar. It means not, indeed not means only. It is only that, innama, indeed, we have only. Harrama, who is it? Harrama means to make haram. Harama means to make something haram. Something becomes haram is haruma. Harama, to make something haram. So harama, that third person made haram. Who is that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we're talking about Allah. If you truly believe in him, thank Allah because he provided you. Allah said, we provided you from the pure food. If you truly believe him, be thankful to him. Then Allah said, he is only made haram. So innama, he has only made haram. Innama would make this only concept here. Okay, it's called hasan. Harrama, he made it haram. What did he make haram? Alaykum. Alaykum means on you, means for you. Yeah. Al-mayta. Mayta, dead. Yeah, the carrion. What dam? What is dam? Blood. Dam. Wa-lahm al-khinzir. Lahm means ghost, but that of khinzir. Yeah. Lahm al-khinzir, khinzir's meat. In the flesh of swine. So, and what else? Wama, and what? Wama, and what? Uhilla bihi. So, ahalla, this is unusual word, obviously we don't use that. Ahalla means actually to shout, to cry out. Ihlal. That is why when hilal comes, the people shout, oh, I've seen it, I've seen it. Many people making that noise when they see it in public, like so many people are trying, I found it, and then they start shouting, oh, we've seen it, they rejoice. So this is called raising your voice to announce something. So uhilla is majhul for that. So because what they used to do, the pagans, they would slaughter animals in the name of their deity to get their nearness, to get their taqarrub. So they bring their lamb, sheep, whatever they have, and then they would put at that. That becomes their altar, actually. So they slaughter it there for the deity, for their idols, in the name that, oh, through this, we will come close to the deity. This idol would be happy with me, and I would get blessing in my life. So get the nearness. So qurbani, the slaughtering is done for that. So animal which are slaughtered, uhilla bi, where they've been, and they would chant, they would shout out loud. They clearly manifesting their intention behind it, not hiding it, shouting, saying, oh, we have done it for our Hubal, or for Lat, for Manat, whatever different deity they had. So they would do for that. So the word is now used, whichever has been made to sacrifice. So dedicated is a word you could use. Wama uhilla bihi, whatever has been made a dedication to, an act of devotion to. So dedicated. Uhilla, although literally meaning different, but here it would mean something that you dedicate. So it was bellowed, it was shouted out of, if you're in need, you call upon them. If you're, in pain, you call upon them. Yes. So that which has been dedicated to other than Allah, li ghayrillah, for ghayrillah, for other than Allah. So they would sacrifice for Allah as well, because they used to believe in Allah. But they said these are all sub-God, so they would do certain things for them as well. So whatever is being slaughtered, whatever is being sacrificed to get the nearness of other than Allah is haram. Even your father, your mother, uncle, teacher, whoever, living or dead, you can't do that. No, nothing can be put in the name of such and such to get their nearness, haram. You can't do that. By consensus, there's no disagreement. This is the distinction point between Muslim and non-Muslim. I will cover that in detail as we talk about these four things. So because this ayat would deal with 4 animals which are haram, 4 specific animals. Now, this is not the only haram. There are many other things which are haram mentioned in the Quran and many hadith. But here is a specific connection to the pagans of Makkah. How they made certain things halal or certain halal into haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly given them this advice in this ayat. So dead animal, which is the mayta, blood, dam. Now, dam means blood. That is why when you go for Hajj and Umrah, what do you say the first thing? Oh, have I got any dam? So people equate dam with penalty. In Hajj and Umrah, they say, oh, I violated my ihram. Do I have dam to pay? Because dam is the average, the commonest penalty people have. Well, not actually commonest, but people tend to fear that more than any other. Because there's only 2 situations where you have to do whole camel. It's called badana. So badana is such that even many people don't even heard before. Perhaps they have never. How many people knew about badana? Yeah. So this is how those who have performed Hajj, even they don't know. Because what's the point? There are only 2 situations where you'll be penalized to do that. So we don't talk about that as much. Just for you, so you know, it's called badana. A cow or a camel to be levied against you as a penalty. That you have to do that. Okay, so it's called badana. Okay, badana, not Urdu badan. Badan means body, but that's a badana. Okay, huge animal. The camel or a cow, all of it, not one part, all of it. Okay, for those two situations, which is if someone has done tawaf ziyarah, tawaf ziyarah is the rukun of Hajj, the two arkan. One is Arafah and other one is this after Ihram. So if someone in the state of Ihram, they went to perform tawaf ziyarah, but they were sexually defiled, major impurity. So they had that. The women in their special day, or men, they were, they had nocturnal emission or whatever because they can't have a conjugal relationship. In that state, they perform the tawaf ziyarah. But they have to do. That's a big, big penalty. For tawaf ziyarah only. For other tawaf, is dam. We'll come to that. Second is having relationship with your wife while in that state of ihram. In the state of ihram of Hajj or any, if you have the relationship, gone. So you have to do a camel or a cow. Other than that, it's the goat or a sheep or one part of the 7 camel part. This is called dam. Dam because although they're all blood, dam is where you slaughter the sheep and the blood is flowing. So that's why it's called dam. So it is a blood. You just do blood. Okay, for the penalty, there's a blood. Penalty, there's a blood. That blood, a dam, there means a sheep, a goat, or 1/7 of a cow or a camel. Okay. Anyway, so dam. Dam literally means blood though. The flesh of swine, an animal on which the name of anyone other than Allah has been called. So these are the 4 that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in this particular ayat. And we just try to cover 1 or 2 today and then other 2 maybe next week. Important to have a bit of detail, some fiqh ruling around it, some detailed points, inshallah ta'ala. So first, the dead animal is known in English as carrion or carcass. Islamic terminology, it means an animal not slaughtered in accordance with the requirements of Sharia. That is extremely important to know. We'll talk about that. Dhibh, not today, maybe tomorrow or next week. Dhibh is extremely important, especially for the people living in the West and even in the East. The concept of halal meat. So here, let's just focus on what is dead. Any animal which died in a fashion other than proper slaughter, not fulfilling the condition of slaughter. And what are the conditions of slaughter? What are the conditions? We'll cover that next week, but what do you think? Should we say again? Bismillah, yes, and calling out, there's a difference of opinion, whether you have to say it or you can be excused for that.
The animal should not be small.
That's not a condition of slaughter. It is nothing to do with the. Out of 4 vessels here, 2 must be cut minimum. So 2 blood vessels, windpipe, and feeding tube. The four sort of areas here. The minimum 2 should be cut according to Imam Hanifa. There are other imams who have different views. Some say 3, some say all 4. So that's number 1. Second, and say Bismillah is difference of opinion. Imam Shafi had different. We would cover that as well. What's the other? The most important.
3 things.
The person doing it should be Muslim or people of book. Okay. The condition for slaughtering it, the person doing it must be either Muslim or from the people of book. Second condition, out of the vessels here, minimum 2 to be cut, drained. And obviously, as you know, in the name of Allah, not in the name of anyone else, obviously. And we're talking about topic here. We can't. We covered only to the topic because we finished that. And that question could be discussed afterwards. So the third condition is saying Bismillah that can only, well, that's majority opinion. Imam Shafi had a slightly different view on that, but that is the whole, well, I know homework for me more than you lot. I will bring that slides so that I can explain all of that. That was intended for today, but it's very important. You're living in here, why you should be very focused on your meat and very particular about that, because a lot of people have consumed non-halal meat here in the West and in haram over there. When you go there, it's more of a concern for meat over there. And I'm not making that up. It is there because they get the meat from Brazil,
Netherlands.
New Zealand. And then the problem is all that meat is being slaughtered by, in the big parenthesis, people of book, they say. They think everyone in Brazil is people of book. They said, doesn't matter. As long as you live there, you are the people of book. Even if you don't, even if you say that I am not, we will say that you are. They're Christians and obviously and Jews as well, but they are Hindus. There are many Sikhs. There are many atheists, perhaps majority. And they're doing whatever they're doing. You say, no, no, no. You're saying that you are, no, you are not, because you live in Brazil, you are Christian. There could be no silliest and most, crazy idea like this, unfortunately. Someone claiming to be atheist in their book. And you say, no, 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 it's all fine. Because coming from there. So almost you'll be hard pushed to find manually slaughtered meat by the local people. Yeah, obviously there's some people do it, but it's not easy to find. If it's coming in bulk from these countries where we're sold everywhere. Oh, Bismillah, no, Jhatka, everything goes. But then everything goes. They just may Allah guide everyone. So yes, it's a big trouble. There's a detailed talk on that I did last year, so you can listen to that. But I will bring it next week, inshallah ta'ala. So in accordance with another verse of Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed to you is the game of the sea and its eating. So there's one exception to that. So dead. What about the hunting? Hunting. So there's exception, and there's certain rules coming in 7th juz about the hunting. So slaughtering sea life, fish, that's exception as well. Okay. To be dead, a dead fish is fine to consume. A dead fish is fine. You don't have to slaughter the fish. And likewise, a locust. Locust is another exception based on the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and by the ijma', the consensus of ummah. Otherwise, Quranic ayat, this ayat, and Quranic ayat from the hunting made the exception. That slaughtering for every other animal other than fish. The fish doesn't need to be slaughtered. Fish and locusts have been determined as exception to the category of maita. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, 2 things dead have been made lawful for us, the fish and the locust. Tiddi. We don't eat, many people do. In the villages and Arabian area, they just usko acha khasa wo bhutte ki tarah khate hain, bhoon ke khate hain. Obviously, imagine karna bhi ajeeb lagta hai how they do it, but they like it. That's up to them, inshallah. And 2 forms of blood have been made halal as well, which is liver and spleen, the congealed blood considered to be. Among animals, the fish and the locust are halal without slaughtering, even if they die on their own or get killed by someone. You can have them. However, if it is decomposed, if it is decayed, smelling, then you can't even have fish. How do you know? The disease has been dead for some time, some days, some weeks. Normally, they just get upside down and start smelling. So if it starts floating, a dead fish, when it starts floating, it's considered to be haram now because it is there for a few days. It is decomposed already. You can only have that floating sense because this inside bacteria start eating you, started decomposing you, and now you're hollow and you're filled with the oxygen or any air. When you have air in that, it's like a small balloon. Come on. The weight would keep you down. Emptiness, come on. अकल में आ रही है कि नहीं आ रही? So that is why that is a surrogate marker of a dead fish being decomposed if it's upside down. Upside down means tummy up, white bit up and scales down. Similarly, an animal not within the range of a hunter to slaughter can become halal without having been slaughtered if the hunter, after saying Bismillah, inflicts a wound on it by means of a sharp edge. If you through an arrow, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and cut him, and then would continue to bleed slowly, keep running, and just follow it. And if the animal becomes weak and dies because of that bleeding, that is halal for you. Now, if it was that you have pushed it too hard with something too big, bullet these days, a big one, that due to the smash, due to the shattering of the organs inside in the brain and the heart, then the animal died not because of the exhaustion or bleeding, then that is not halal. So Allah mentioned separately in Quran, and we cover that. So merely being wounded is not enough. It is necessary as a condition that it be wounded with some sharp-edged weapon. Okay, if you threw a big stone at the animal and it got cut, not okay, because the animal would die due to the impact of the force that they get. It's like hitting their head. Someone fall off the cliff, they bang straight onto their head, they'd be dead. But that's not, and they might be bleeding as well. Obviously, there are a lot of cuts, whatnot, but that wouldn't be enough, because if they died, even with the bullet, if they died of the impact, the pressure, then they would not be halal. So that is why it's very important. There's some ruling, much more deeper ruling, inshallah, that we covered, but that's not the topic for today. If an animal wounded by a gun shot dies before it could be slaughtered, it would be taken as an animal that dies from a fatal strike with a rock, or it's like you hit him and the animal died. You should be able to catch him. If he were to die due to bleeding, it is going to be in your reach. The trickling of the blood would take time. The bullet causing the bleeding would take time. It's not imminent death. You bleed and bleed and bleed and continue to run. So rather than dying of exhaustion or hit, you actually are dying. The animal is getting weaker and weaker through the oozing of the blood. And then you catch him and you just slaughter the animal. This has been called mawquda. If the animal is died because of the hit of the bullet or the pressure of the impact of the injury, then that is called mawquda, which is mentioned in Quran as well. وَالْمَوْقُوذَةُ وَالْمُتَرَدِّيَةُ وَالنَّطِيحَةُ. Those are the same. We covered that in Surah Maida. However, if the animal is slaughtered, as the animal is about to die, you just slaughtered it. Alhamdulillah. Done. You've done that tazkiyah. This word is tazkiyah with zal, to make it purified. Not tazkiyah, which is purification of the heart. This is through bloodletting, you're purifying the meat, making it halal for you, which is with zal. See the significance of tajweed there. Some ulama are of opinion that the common bullet with a conical nose top, it's like bullet with an angle at the top, sharp one, little bit, under the category of arrow. But the view of majority is that this too is not an arrow-like weapon. Instead, it bores the flesh. It tears it apart by the force of the explosive material inside the bullet. Otherwise, the weapon itself has no sharp edge, which could inflict a wound for the bleeding of the animal. So it is safe that don't have that animal, rather go and slaughter it straight away. You have to slaughter this one. The dead animal has been declared haram in an absolute sense. Therefore, everything about it is haram. Everything, including its flesh, which is clear, but also buying and selling. You can't sell a dead animal. You can't, and it also would include many other things. Okay, same injunctions apply to all the impurities. You can't sell the impurity. So dead person, dead animal, dead whatever. As you can't sell that and benefit from it, likewise any impurity. So you've got something And you say, okay, I can sell it. No, you can't. You can't use it and you can't sell it. And there's a big instruction, big point about that. I will come to that in a second. So the use of personal use or whichever, buying and selling, even deriving any benefit from them is all haram. So much so that it is impermissible to voluntarily feed those to animals. So you have got swine meat, dead meat, someone not slaughtered the animal, gave it to you as a gift. Next door neighbor, non-Muslim people, they have given you something where you know it's something haram in there, there's some pork in it. You can't feed that to your own pet animal. Your chicken, your dog, your cat. You can't feed them. You understand that? You can put it somewhere and they can come and eat. That's the difference. Any bird, anything can eat it. Because they are not Sharia bound. They can have haram. You can't provide them haram though. See the significance of this mas'ala. You cannot go to the shop and buy haram meat for your animals. And many people keep cats and dogs and keep buying all the meat from the shops. So you are being agent to promote that haram meat being sold in the market and you're buying it and providing it to someone. You leaving your own leftover, fine, halal. Or just get halal for them, fine, from the halal shop. हर चीज में अंग्रेजी आजकल ये फैशन बहुत हो गया आए पाकिस्तान से अभी दो अंग्रेजी भी बोलना नहीं है करके लेकिन कैन लेकर आते हैं अपने जानवरों के लिए टेस्को से और एसजा से उसमें जरा एचएमसी देख लो हलाल देख लो खैर ये तो अपना ज़ौक़ शौक है लेकिन अजीब बात है खुद खा रहे हैं और सूद पे पड़ और जानवरों को वो भी अजीब सूरत हाल है लेकिन धरा so be careful don't do things because सब लोग करते हैं culturally it looks nice no. Go and get to the Muslim shop where they sell meat and whatever is left over they give it to you. The butchers take away there were many stuff left over just take that and don't shy away. My brother he's got guard dog always had it and he would always have friends in few shops and he, on his way back with the bags of leftover and they just enjoy it the animals. So yeah, halal food. Did you understand that? We're not saying that it is haram for animal to consume it. It is you being agent to that. That is why you cannot acquire the haram thing. And if it is given to you, you can't consume it or give it to someone, even Muslim, non-Muslim even. You say, oh, this is alcohol bottle, someone gifted to me. I'm going to pass it on to my next door neighbor. Who is it? No, you can't. If you can't give it to your animals, उनको भी रात में नशे में लगा दिया करो तुम मुर्गियों को ये चक्कर नहीं करते अल्लाह का हुक्म नहीं तोड़ सकते आप तो you are being there to violate the law you can't yeah should it be placed somewhere and be eaten by a dog or cat on its own that would be okay what is not permissible is that you feeding them personally see more ruling the ruling in general which includes all part of Maita what does that mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expressed that in another surah saying ala ta'ami yat'amuhu which tells us that the eatable parts of the dead animal are forbidden. So what that means the bones of the dead animal, the hair of the dead animal which are not eatable are clean and they can be used. So the skin of the animals, other animals, even if they're not slaughtered Islamically, you tan it and you can use it. After tanning, the hair can be used. Obviously, after washing, can be used for different things. Even the dead animal. The only exception is swine. Khinzir. Khinzir is just generally impermissible. Everything related. Even the skin, even the hair, even the hooves. Nothing can be permissible. Okay. That's the only exception. Other animals, even if they're not slaughtered properly, you can use their parts where there is no blood flowing. The skin, the hair, generally is okay. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, ومن أصوافها وأوبارها وأشعارها أثاثا ومتاعا إلى حين. And this ayat has actually permitted the use of hair of such animal in an absolute sense. So that is why you have to put that together to say even those animals' skin and hairs could be used. The condition of slaughter is not there, since the skin or hide means skin, same thing, like the wool of an animal carries impurity such as blood, it is forbidden unless tanned. So that's why you have to tan it based on hadith. You have to tan it, the fat of the dead animal and everything made with it is forbidden as well. There is no way that can be used. Even buying and selling them is forbidden. Fat. That is why when you need oil, oil has to be checked whether it's from animal source or plant source. Because animal source in this country would more likely be not slaughtered, unslaughtered animals. Obviously, that's not correct. You can't use that. It's a dead animal. You remember, dead animal, even the slaughtering cause the animal to die. You can't eat the animal dead. You have to slaughter and cause him to die. So dead means when it is not slaughtered according to Sharia. So it's called dead. Avoiding the use of soap made from animal fat is good precautionary practice. However, it is not easy to find out for sure that the fat from dead animals has been used in a particular product or not. So there is some leeway. But here, we know it's more likely than not. So if you could avoid that, it's better. But there is certainly. Another reason for its possibility that some of the companions, such as Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar, Abu Sayyid Khudri, and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, they have ruled that the fat of dead animal is forbidden as far as eating is concerned, while they have permitted its use externally, and therefore they have allowed its buying and selling. So from their fatwa, one can benefit. So it's not the most strict point of view where you have to verify your soap, whether they are from halal sources or not, whether they are from the slaughtered animal or not. So inshallah, there's leeway. If you could avoid it, alhamdulillah, find the halal animal soap is difficult. Maybe a thing to think about when you go back home, rather than buying clothes and shoes and several other things you can buy here. You can buy a dozen soaps. That will be more likely because halal meat available there. Here, they just use for them, just food for food. Cheese made from milk contains an ingredient called infiha or infaha. Infaha is the rennet. This Arabic for rennet. It is mucous membrane, the lining, taken out from the stomachs of suckling lamb or goat. So they are on the milk of the mother, the goat, the lining, stomach lining, if you remove it, there is this rennet, which is used to make curd, the yogurt. It is used to coagulate or curdle the milk to make it curd. You understand here? If rennet is taken out of the stomach of an animal slaughtered in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, normally, then it's permissible, obviously, there's no problem. However, the meat, fat, or etc. of any Islamic slaughtered animal are permissible, but in the event that they're taken from the stomach of an animal that is not slaughtered Islamically, then there's difference of opinion. Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik consider it clean, Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, and others call it unclean and impure. So there is a strong likelihood that rennet from an Islamic slaughtered animal is used in cheese made in non-Islamic countries. Therefore, relying on the consensus of Muslim jurists, one must avoid using it. So the rennet, if it's animal sold in the West, in a non-Muslim country, avoid it if you could, because you're not going to die around your rennet or yogurt, if that's your favorite one. Under the juristic position taken by Imam Hanifa and Imam Malik, leeway exists though. Okay? But not the majority view, not even the Hanafi view. So we take the cautious view of avoiding it. Some tea made in Western countries have pork fat as one of their ingredients, which hopefully can be seen on the wrapper or tin. Identify that. Obviously, that's definitely haram by everyone. Nothing can of the pork can be taken. I leave the bread bit because that will take a very long time for the next week. So inshallah, we'll just cover the rest maybe next week or the following week. بالذي مستوفي أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.